Good morning, students. Welcome to your English literature class. The topic for today's tutorial is The Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 2, lines 38 to 82. Children, by end of this video, you will be able to explain the meanings of difficult words according to the context, tell some of the references that we have read in the text, and answer the related questions. Children, in the previous video, you learned that Portia is engaged in conversation with her maid Nerissa. Portia comments upon the various suitors who have come to win her hand in marriage. The first suitor was the Neapolitan prince. Children, today we will read about the other suitors. Children, now open your The Merchant of Venice textbook, Act 1, Scene 2, at page number 16. Children, let's start the reading. Lines 38 to 44. Nerissa. Then there is the County Palatine. Portia. He doth nothing but frown, as who should say, and you will not have me choose. He hears merry tales and smiles not. I fear he will prove the weeping philosopher when he grows old, being so full of unmannerly sadness in his youth. Children, now note down the word meanings on your textbook with pen. Doth means does. Weeping philosopher. The old Greek philosopher Heraclitus of Ephesus, who lamented the stupidity and folly of mankind and wept at everything in the world. Children, in these lines, Nerissa tells Portia that the next suitor who has come to try his luck is the German Palatine Count. He is from Poland. Portia replies to Nerissa that the German Palatine Count does nothing but only frowns, as if he wants to say that he doesn't care about him being chosen as a suitor. He hears good stories without a smile. Portia fears that he will prove to be a weeping philosopher when he becomes old. Children, now why he will prove to be a weeping philosopher? Because German Palatine Count has such unpleasant sadness in his youth. I had rather be married to a death's head with a bone in its mouth than to either of these. God defend me from these two. Children, note down the meanings of difficult words on your textbook with pen. Death's head means the emblem of a skull with two bones crossed underneath was usually known as death's head. Children, look at the picture. This is death's head. The emblem of a skull with two bones crossed underneath, it is called death's head. But Portia here speaks of a different type, of a grinning skull with a bone in its mouth, just as if it were smoking a pipe. Children, in these lines, Portia says that she should rather marry a skeleton with a bone in his mouth than marry either of them. She requests God to protect her from both. Children, now let us read gist of these lines. Nerissa says that the next suitor who has come to try his luck is the German Palatine Count. He is from Poland. Portia says that he only frowns, as if he wants to say that he doesn't care about him being chosen as a suitor. He hears good stories without a smile. Portia fears that he will be a sad philosopher when he becomes old, since he has such unpleasant gloom in his youth. Portia says that she should rather marry a grinning skull with a bone in its mouth than marry either of these. She requests God to protect her from both of them. Lines 45 to 53. Nerissa. How say you by the French lord Monsieur le Bon? Portia. God made him, and therefore let him pass for a man. In truth, I know it is a sin to be a mocker, but he, why he hath a horse better than the Neapolitans. a better bad habit of frowning than the Count Palatine. He is every man and no man. Children, note down the meanings of difficult words on your textbook with pen. Monsieur, a French word for Mr. or Sir. Mocker, person who makes fun of others. Children, in these lines, Nerissa asks Portia of her opinion about the French lord Monsieur Le Bon. Portia says to Nerissa that Monsieur Le Bon may be considered a man because God has made him as a man. Children, in these lines, Portia describes Monsieur Le Bon by comparing him to other suitors. Portia knows that it is wrong to mock at others, but she says that Monsieur Le Bon is more attached to his horse than the Prince of Naples is. Children, we have already read that Neapolitan prince always talks of his horses and County Palatine always frowns. But here she says that Monsieur Le Bon is more attached to his horses than Prince of Naples and he frowns more than Count Palatine. So children, he possesses every man's fault. He has no personality of his own. If a throstle sing, he falls straight a-capering. He will fence with his own shadow. If I should marry him, I should marry 20 husbands. If he would despise me, I would forgive him. For if he love me to madness, I shall never requite him. Children, note down the meanings of difficult words on your textbook with pen. Throstle, name often applied to the common English bird, the thrush. A capering, jumping about. Despise, hate. Requite, return his love. Children, in these lines, Portia makes fun of Monsieur Le Bon by saying that if the French lord hears a thrush sing, he begins to dance. And he is so eager to show off his fencing skills that he would even draw a sword against his own shadow. Portia says that if she was to marry him, it would be like getting married to 20 husbands. She further says that if he will hate her, she would forgive him. But if he would love her passionately, then she would never be able to love him back. Children, now let us read the gist of these lines. Nerissa asks Portia about her opinion about the French lord Monsieur Le Bon. Portia replies to Nerissa that he may be considered a man because God has made him. Portia knows that it is wrong to ridicule others, but he is attached to his horse more than the Prince of Naples is, and he frowns more than the Count Palatine. He has everybody else's characteristics, but no personality of his own. If he hears a thrush sing, he starts to jump about, and he would draw sword against his own shadow. Portia says that it would be like getting married to 20 husbands if she was to marry him. Portia says that she would understand it if he hated her, but if he loved her desperately, she would never be able to love him back. Lines 54 to 62. Nerissa, what say you then to Falconbridge, the young Baron of England? Children, Baron means a member of the lower order of the British family. Children, look at the picture. Here is Falconbridge. In these lines, Nerissa asks Portia's opinion about Falconbridge, the young Baron of England. Portia, you know I say nothing to him, for he understands not me nor I him. He hath neither Latin, French, nor Italian, and you will come into the court and swear that I have a poor penny worth in the English. Children, note down the meanings of difficult words on your textbook with pen. Hath means speaks or knows. A poor penny worth. Very little knowledge. Children, in these lines, Portia replies to Nerissa that she says nothing to Falconbridge because he doesn't understand her and even she doesn't understand him. Children, why can't they understand each other? The reason is that Portia has poor knowledge of English while the Baron from England doesn't know to speak Latin, French or Italian. So they don't understand each other's languages. He is a proper man's picture, but alas, who can converse with a dumb show? Children, proper man's picture means handsome man. With a dumb show means with a man by means of signs. Children, in these lines, Portia says that Falconbridge has an appearance of a handsome man. As you can see in the picture that Falconbridge is looking like a handsome man. But Portia says that he is a man without words. She calls him a dumb show. Children, why Portia refers to Falconbridge as a dumb show? Children, the word dumb show refers to a play in which all characters act without speaking, that is by jesters. The young baron from England, Falconbridge, is described as a dumb show because he is unable to speak foreign languages and had to converse by means of signs, as in a dumb show. How oddly he is suited. I think he bought his doublet in Italy, his round horse in France, his bonnet in Germany, and his behavior everywhere. Children, note down the meanings of difficult words. Suited means dressed, doublet means jacket, round horse means trousers, bonnet means cap. Children, Portia thinks that he has bought his jacket in Italy, his trousers in France, his cap in Germany, and his manners from everywhere else. According to her, he is dressed in a strange attire. Children, now let us read the gist of these lines. Nerissa asks Portia about her opinion of Falconbridge, the young baron from England. Portia replies to Nerissa that she says nothing to him because he doesn't understand her. Neither does Portia understand him. He doesn't speak Latin, French, or Italian, and also Portia speaks very little English. He looks great but wonders how can she talk to someone who doesn't speak her language. According to Portia, he is dressed so oddly too. Portia thinks he got his jacket in Italy, his tights in France, his hat in Germany, and his behavior from everywhere. Lines 63 to 67. Nerissa, what think you of the Scottish lord, his neighbour? Children, his here refers to Falconbridge. Nerissa here asks Portia about the fifth suitor who came to try his luck. That was his neighbour, the Scottish lord. Children, you can see the picture. He is the Scottish lord. Children, why does Nerissa call Scottish lord the neighbour of Falconbridge? Because England and Scotland are neighbouring countries. Portia, that he hath a neighbourly charity in him, for he borrowed a box of the ear of the Englishman and swore he would pay him again when he was able. I think the Frenchman became his surety and sealed under for another. Hath means has, sealed under means signed as security. Children, in these lines, Portia sarcastically says that the Scottish lord is very forgiving, since he let the Englishman slap him on the ear without hitting him back. Rather than defend himself, he was threatened to pay the Englishman back later. Then the Frenchman promised to help the Scot pay the Englishman back and added a slap of his own. Now children, there is a reference to the history of England, France and Scotland. The countries of Scotland and France had both been at war with each other for hundreds of years. So, the description of Scottish lord is a reference to the frequent alliances between the Scots and the French against England when Scotland was at war with England. Children, now let us read the gist of these lines. Nerissa asks Portia about her opinion of his neighbour, Falconbridge, the Scottish lord. Portia says that he has love for his neighbor because he received a blow on his face from the Englishman and swore that he would return it when he was able to do so. Portia thinks that the Frenchman guaranteed that the Scottish lord would repay his debt and signed his name underneath the Scotsman's signature on the bond as a guarantee for a friend. Lines 68 to 74. Nerissa, how like you the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew? Children, in these lines, Nerissa asks Portia's opinion about the sixth suitor who came to try his luck, that was the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew. Children, the young German is a drunkard. Portia, very wildly in the morning when he is sober, and most wildly in the afternoon when he is drunk. When he is best, he is a little worse than a man, and when he is worst, he is little better than a beast. And the worst fall that ever fell, I hope I shall make shift to go without him. Children, note down the meanings of difficult words on your textbook with pen. Wildly means worse, sober, not drunk, and if, fall, happen. Children, Portia here says that the young German is pretty terrible in the morning when he is not drunk, and even worse in afternoon when he is drunk. She says that when he is at his best, he is miserable type of man, and when he is at his worst, that is when he is drunk, he is no better than a beast. She is sure that she will not accept him as her husband in any case. Children, now let us read the gist of these lines. Nerissa asks Portia's opinion about the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew. Portia remarks that he is terrible in the morning when he is sober, but worst in the afternoon when he is drunk. When at his best, he is worse than a man, and when he is at his worst, he is not better than a beast. Portia says that she will not accept him in any case as her husband. Lines 75 to 82. Nerissa, if he should offer to choose and choose the right casket, you should refuse to perform your father's will if you should refuse to accept him. Children, in these lines, Nerissa asks Portia that if Duke of Saxony's nephew offers to choose the right casket, will she reject him by disobeying her father's will? Portia, therefore, for fear of the worst, I pray thee, set a deep glass of Rhenish wine on the contrary casket, for if the devil be within and that temptation without, I know he will choose it. I will do anything, Nerissa, ere I'll be married to a sponge. Children, note down the meanings of difficult words. Thee means you. Rhenish wine, a wine made from grapes grown in the Rhine Valley. Contrary means opposite or wrong. Sponge means drunkard. Portia says that such situation could be avoided by placing a large glass of Rhenish wine on the wrong casket. She is sure that the Duke of Saxony's nephew will choose that casket due to temptation of wine outside. She tells Nerissa that she would do anything rather to marry a drunkard. Children, there is a reference. A sponge constantly absorbs water. Similarly, a drunkard who constantly takes liquor is called a sponge. Since the young German is a drunkard, Portia calls him a sponge. Children, now let us read the gist of these lines. Nerissa asks Portia that if Duke of Saxony's nephew chooses the right casket, will she reject him by disobeying her father's will? Portia says that in order to avoid such a situation, a large glass of Rhenish wine could be placed on the wrong casket. She is sure that due to temptation of wine outside, he will choose that particular casket. She is sure that she will do anything rather than being married to a drunkard. This brings us to end of today's tutorial. Now this is your homework time, children. Do the homework given in your SNAP homework. Thank you, children.